You wake up in what looks to be a brightly coloured child's room. Well, almost too bright that it hurts your plastic eyes. Of course you wouldn't have real eyes. You are a toy after all, even though you don't know your origins or where you came from. You eventually realise that there's no getting out of this. Well, you are a toy, as you already figured out, and there's no way you'd be able to show you are real to anyone else. So you decide to look around the room to see if you can find any more toys like yourself that might be able to tell you where you are. You were just about to hop down from your spot on the shelf where the kid had positioned you, but suddenly someone pops up in your face. Howdy, I'm Woody. I guess you're new here, right? For a moment you're too stunned to speak. A moment ago you found yourself in a random child's room being placed on a shelf, which felt weird enough. Then you figured out that you were a toy, which was kind of awkward because it was the first time you'd been alive. And now some random cowboy's positioned himself in front of you, asking you if you're new. New to what exactly? Why, you're in the best place a toy could be, partner. You're in Andy's room. Which I guess I should explain a little bit more about. Well, welcome to Andy's room. My name's Woody and I'm kind of the big guy around here. I'm basically the one that keeps everyone in line. I'm kind of like the leader, but I guess you could call me the sheriff. Not funny, is it? You don't even try to force a laugh as you listen to the sheriff's dry humour. Well, of course he would be a sheriff. That's just what a leader is if they're a cowboy. His humour really sucked, but that's not what you were wondering about. You were wondering more about what Andy's room could even mean. Yes, sir, Andy's room. Well, as I said, I'm going to explain a little bit more about that. Our kid is Andy, which is the guy that brought you in here and put you on that top shelf. That means you're probably going to be one of his new favourite toys. But I wouldn't toot your own horn just yet. I'm definitely the favourite around here. That is until Buzz came along. Now we both share the spot. Now I have a little bit more explaining to do and then we can get everything down for you, okay? That sound good? Great. Okay, let's see. As I said, I'm Woody. There is a bunch of different toys here that Andy plays with. So basically, all you need to do is stay perfectly still. Don't let anybody know that you're anything other than a toy. Just basically act like an inanimate object when the others are around. Oh, and what we do all day is we wait for Andy to choose us. When he plays with us, everything's fine, all happy and dandy and everything. He makes up fun little stories. But while he's not here, we just stand around, talk, all that kind of stuff. So, welcome to the club, pal. You gazed up at Woody, his brown eyes locked onto yours. And then you thought for a moment, maybe life as a toy wouldn't be so bad. Well, of course it wouldn't be. You'd be making children happy. And for some reason, that felt like the biggest goal in your life at this point. Maybe that's what you needed to do, to make a child happy. Anyways, there's a few things we need to get down and test before we can actually welcome you properly into the family. The first thing being how to ragdoll. I mean, being a toy, you'd probably be able to do it off of instinct anyway, but we just like to test, just in case. So, as soon as I raise my hand and give the signal, that's basically your cue to ragdoll. All you're going to do is go completely still, let all your features just vanish, let the toy inside of you take over, and flop to the ground. Sometimes it comes naturally as instinct when humans are around, but forcing it can help sometimes, especially when we're trying to test with this sort of thing. So, yeah, it shouldn't be too hard. I can demonstrate first. And within a second, Woody's eyes stopped moving, his mouth clasped into that uneasy smile that fixed on his face. His whole body flopped to the ground, and you watched him. You kicked his hand to see if he would move. He seemed pretty practiced at this, even without the instinct of a human walking in. You kicked it again. He didn't react, not even once. You were starting to doubt. Maybe he actually was an inanimate object. You poked him in the chest. He got back up. You let out a breath you didn't even know you were holding. Maybe you really were going crazy. Or at least you thought that for a few seconds. But of course you weren't. He was just good at this. See? Easy as pie. Now it's your turn. When I raise my hand, you just copy whatever I did, okay? You count down in your head. 3, 2, 1. You were surprised when your counting was actually correct. Woody held up a hand, and you tried your best. Now you could only see the ceiling. Even the ceiling was bright. This Andy kid definitely had a knack for decorations. You stayed as still as you could, peering up at the ceiling, looking at the Space Ranger and the couple of army men that were stuck up there. Maybe one day you would really belong here. You were completely focused on staying still, wanting to impress the sheriff, when suddenly he pops up in front of your face, making you flinch. Pretty good for a first time, partner. Or at least I'd say. Better than all the other toys that have been arriving recently. So, seems like you have a proper knack for this, right? I think the only thing I would say is, maybe try and control the twitching a little bit more. I was terrible at it the first time I started trying this, but I slowly got better. I'm sure you'll learn. Overall, I think your score would be a 8 out of 10, which is amazing from me. The sheriff helped you stand back up, and you wondered what other tests or things you needed to undergo before you could properly join the family. Alright, now that all the testing is over, it's time to start the easy stuff. So, I'm just going to ask you a few questions, I'm going to document it into some paper, and then you are officially part of the family, which is going to be fun. The sheriff takes some paper from his pocket and a large pen. Maybe a little too large for him to use, but oh well. Alright, first question. What is your name? Let me just write that down real quick. Alright, next question. What is your manufacturer? Like some of us are, I don't know, Hasbro, stuff like that. So what are you? Perfect. To be perfectly honest with you, I've never actually heard of that one, so maybe you could tell me more about it later. Anyways, next question. Were you modelled after a TV show, movie, anything like that? Okay. Alright, do you know what year exactly you were manufactured? Sometimes I don't like to admit this, but I am a pretty old toy. I was manufactured in 1957. Okay, so younger than me. Okay, this is the last question, which I probably already know myself before even asking. But did you ever have any previous owners before Andy? Didn't think so. Alright, that should be all your paperwork done. I'm going to give this to you and you can check it over. If it's all correct, you can come and find me and then I can welcome you to everyone else. So have a good night. With that, the sheriff walks away and leaves you alone. You check over the papers, making sure every single detail is correct, which it is. And after you check it, you look around the room one last time, before saying to yourself, I am Andy's toy. And that's where your story will begin from now on. You jump off the shelf to go and meet Woody again. The other toys all look at you, excited to meet you. You fluff up whatever hair you have, and try and make a good impression for the first time ever meeting anyone other than Woody. This is about to be your dream, your life.